So welcome. It's really good to have you guys here. Like I said, I have so many things I want to talk to you about and ask you about and tell you about. And Amy, welcome. You haven't been here for a while. That's fun to have you on here.
Yes.
Where are you today?
I'm home today. I decided to take a day off and hopefully get my house back in order. But anyway,
There we
so,
go. So can you tell everybody where you work, what you do? All
I
the
have some.
places you work and all the
Yeah,
things you do?
no, I work at BYU, and we're getting ready to move buildings, so it's been a little bit crazy. And then I freelance clarinet, so I've already had a 2-hour rehearsal today, and I have more stuff later today. But anyway, that's today is a let's get on top of the laundry and the house. So anyway.
Yeah, that's awesome. And can you share just a little bit more about your playing?
Yeah.
'Cause
Well, right now,
some moms on our group or ones that watch are in Utah. So not
oh,
these right here
okay.
actually, but
So actually really exciting. I have a recital coming up on Monday in Alpine. It's free. It's in a gorgeous home. Like going and sitting in the house is part of the experience. And the hostess is serving refreshments. She said a charcuterie board. So I'm like, okay, that's lovely. It's going to be fancy. Um, but it's violin, piano, and clarinet. So it sounds like Fiddler on the Roof, and it's so fun. It's about an hour-long concert. So again, it's free, and yeah, the details are on my Facebook page if you wanted to link that. But it's just at
yeah.
a house. But yeah, I also teach marching band, and we have a competition tomorrow, and finals coming up soon, state finals, and
And how did you do in your last competition, my dear?
well, a couple of ones ago we got third. Last week we didn't do as well, but that's okay. Um, anyway, we'll see. I don't expect us to get higher than that, but it certainly helps with the kids' enthusiasm for
Yeah.
working.
Yeah. Well, and sorry that next time you're gonna be like, I'm not going on there. She made me talk. Can you share just a little summary of that one performance that you guys did, what you were working on? That was that story from the
Oh yeah,
town.
yeah, that's our show for the whole season. So
Okay.
yeah, and honestly, if you're in Springville on Wednesday, it's a free family show at 6:30 at the high school. So if you want to come see a cool show, but it's based on a true story. North Platte, Nebraska, during World War II, the troop trains would come through there. So Pearl Harbor happened, and their boys were sent off to go drill with their unit, and they thought the boys were coming through on a train on Christmas Eve. It turned out it was a different group, but the town had come together and just gathered some treats and notes and came to welcome them, to send them off to go to the war. But it was a different group, and they were happy to help those boys too. And then they decided about 100 communities in the area divvied up every single train that came into town. They would just take shifts, and there would always be someone there to greet the boys and feed them and just send them off with uplifting notes, cute things. Like one group would send a popcorn ball with a single woman's name and address, and the boys were welcome to write to them if they wanted to. And a couple of marriages happened out of that because they wrote to each other for 2 years. Anyway, so the whole show is based on that story and how uplifting it is, and it's cute because it goes through basically a couple. We have a troop boy and a color guard girl, and so it's kind of their story. And at the very end, they get back together. That's really cute. So it's a more emotional marching band show than your typical marching band show, but the kids really like it. The parents love it too, and it's been fun to do.
I think that's so sweet. Now, did you have help writing this or did you write this?
So I picked out the songs, and Bob, my son, wrote all the music. He took because it's got things that like New World Symphony and Homeward Bound, Prayer of the Children, and it has a couple of other pieces that are a little less like you wouldn't know them unless you played in band a lot. Oh, and also In the Mood. And In the Mood was mentioned in this book, the story of North Platte, multiple times, because these boys would come in and there's a piano and they like to go and play music and have dance party, which is adorable when you think about it. Like, okay, we have a 10-minute stop. We're gonna dance. We're gonna eat food and give hugs. So it worked. It was good stuff. But then I wrote all the drill, so how it goes out on the field. Anyway.
That is so very cool. Oh, yes. The name of the book is The Story of North Platte. Is that correct, Amy?
Yes.
And what's the author's name?
Oh, I have it right here. So you can
Awesome.
see it. Once Upon a Town by Bob Greene.
Oh.
Anyway, it's a good story. And I heard about the story at a random conference I was at BYU, and someone mentioned it, and I thought, oh, that would be perfect. And it was.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm guessing it makes it a little more emotional when you're married to a serviceman as well, my dear.
Yeah, I know, it does. It does. And I wrote it before I knew my husband was gonna be gone forever. So yeah. And the kids know that. Like when I'm working with them, there's this beautiful duet. I'm like, I'm like, there's this angst, and here's what's real. The emotions are real, and they're like, okay.
Right. Right. So her husband's in Alaska right now. So
Yep.
and has been since, was it June? He finally left, end of June.
Yep.
And will be for a while.
At least May, possibly August of next year. So,
Yeah.
a long time.
Yeah. And lots of your kids know about that, and you've done the airport welcome home dad thing a few times as he's come home after a long stint somewhere overseas, Afghanistan, wherever.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. Thank you. I'm so happy you were here and you could share that, because I love that story, Amy. I love that you did that and that you've opened that up to all these youth for them to be able to have this experience, to
Well,
know
and I
this
don't know
story.
during band camp when they were learning the show, I don't know if I mentioned to you, Lori, that one of the kids' brother was at Marine boot camp at the time, and the whole band wrote him just this cute card. They all signed it and put little funny notes on it. And we sent it off to him, and his mom told me later, she's like, he was having such a hard time. That really meant a lot to him. And I was like, okay, cool. They got to make a difference in somebody's life and help them have a better day. So.
Oh, I love it. That's so sweet. Okay, well, thank you for sharing all that. And also, what I need to do is put in our group, that Facebook group, or I don't know where, a couple of different places. Also, the links to your YouTube page for your for Aspen Wins.
Yeah.
Because I've shared with several girls, and with the girls I mentor, one of them right now, her assignment is to watch your Peter and the Wolf performance, because it's darling. It's really fun to watch that, and then the little telling about it. Those are fun videos and really good for families, good for moms if they're not familiar with classical music. Good to give them an introduction and let them spend some time with some classical music in a fun and easy way. So
yeah, no, and I can't overemphasize how important it is to just get them to listen, your children especially. Like, I was working with our high school kids yesterday, and so many of them had never heard New World Symphony as a symphony. And so we did a lot of listening yesterday, and it made such a difference in how they then played their music. But I'm like, oh, it's so sad that they hadn't even heard it. So they didn't know what they were trying to sound like. And it just makes me sad. I'm like, oh, it's so much easier when you know what it's supposed to sound like and you understand and you can connect to it, because they are connecting to the music. It's been hard because they've never been exposed to it before. It's very interesting.
yeah. Oh, and that's such a beautiful piece. It's one that I love to listen to. It's very calming and pretty. It's just nice to have on in the background. So that's Dvorak's New World Symphony, and it's just so pretty. If you aren't familiar with it, add that to your listening list. But Amy, that's so great that you give them those opportunities.
Thanks.
It's so good. So I don't know if you mamas are using music for you, but also for your kids, but so much for you, because it can bring such calming and healing, and it makes a difference if I'm kind of feeling misdirected, a little lost. Just put on some music that I love, and it changes things. It doesn't make your problems go away, but it sure makes you feel better.
Yep.
Okay. Any follow-up thoughts or comments on that, ladies? If you want to or ask Amy anything about that. I know there's been some stuff in the chat, and thank you, Lindsay Watkins, always.
I know. Thanks, Lindsay. Anyway.
I love it. I love it.
I have to write everything down, so I figured everybody else is probably trying to write things down too. So I'm always just
I
trying
know. Thank you.
The music, though, I've been putting on classical just on my little speaker as we're doing things, and it's so funny because my kids are like, "Oh, that song's in this show that we watched, and this is what's going on in the show." And it's funny because I don't really connect it like that. I know there's background music, and sometimes you can pick up on it, but it's so funny because they can tell me like specific scenes of when that song is playing. And so now that I'm watching, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I don't know why I never heard that before." And so it is kind of fun just to hear them connecting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Amy's kids are very musically inclined, and gosh, if they're around, there's music going on. They're playing or singing or creating something. It's just, that's become a big part of their lives. So it's so good to have that be in our lives. Ida, were you going to share something? And I saw you did correct your name. I was going to help you out there. Wait, no, that's Ida. Oh, I don't have audio from you. You're unmuted, but I didn't have audio. We always have to remind you to plug in. Yeah, I know. Come on. She's got to figure it out. No, she's still working. Okay, anybody else want to jump in while Ida's trying to figure out her technical difficulty this morning? Oh, it's just so good to see your faces. Do you know we are planning a get together? I think I mentioned that Lindsay and I said we ought to just plan one every year, and then whoever can come will come, and you'll just know that it's going to continue to happen. So I think we're going to plan it for Solvang, California, over on the coast, that little Danish village, and this would be like a little mom retreat, So what did we decide, Lindsay? Watkins, Lindsay Bunting's driving. End of March, yeah. So end of March 2023. So if that ends up working for anybody, we will let you know as we move forward on that. But that's kind of selfish of us that we do it close to here. But oh, cute, from Ida. My son's been walking around humming the wedding march. I think I have to click on it. I think he probably heard it on Little Einstein. Yes, they pick up so much, and they love the music. So in my mentoring this week, I was mentoring. So I have 3 girls now that I'm mentoring, and one of them is Lindsay Bunting's daughter, Sarah. And we just started, and I decided that I felt like I was supposed to introduce her to classical music. And so we started talking about music, and I played some little pieces for her. And I shared with her a book I have that is just a picture book telling about Mozart's Magic Flute. And it's what I used with my kids years ago. And it was what I used for me, because I didn't know. I didn't know any oh yeah, I did anyway, sorry, I got distracted from by the chat. I'm easily distracted. Anyway, it tells the story of the magic flute very simply, and on several of the pages there's just one little line of music, and it is the theme for that character, in the story. So it will introduce the different characters, you can play on the piano, their little theme, and then continue on with the telling of the story. And I loved it. It was so much fun for me to introduce me to it. And my kids were just kind of along for the ride. And then we listened to parts of the magic flute, because we have the CDs, and they became more familiar. They could hear the little themes that were playing in there. If you think about it, like with the same thing happens with Star Wars, or I'm stuck. I only have that one example in my head. but where you've got a movie theme and you've got Leia's theme, you know, and so when she's on the screen, there's this, you know, lovely little background music that's her theme, or when it's another character, it's theirs. And that happens all throughout the soundtrack. Well, the same thing is happening in an opera. And as a character comes in and it's their part and they're interacting, you've got their theme. And then if it's somebody else, sometimes then they mix those themes together. And it's fun when you can recognize the themes. So anyway, so we did that, and my kids were just 7 and 6. It was just Stevie and Sarah, and Kate was just a baby. But then my kids wanted to watch the opera because we had talked about how it was an opera. Oh, and we listened to classical kids. So it's classical kids. I can't remember what the one about Mozart is called, but it's like Mozart's Magic Night or something like that. And it's just a made up story of some kids, and they get kind of sucked into an on-stage opera, and then they get sucked into the whole story and the Queen of the Night and all of that happens. They're part of the story. Anyway, so my kids loved it, knew that, thought they wanted to watch the opera, and I thought, how cute, you know. And we'll find a recording. Back in the day, I had to go check it out at the library, you know, and we did watch the VHS probably, but and so then we put it on, and it was all German subtitles, which I didn't think about. I didn't even know enough to know that that's how it was going to be. So they can read, but slowly, so they can't keep up with it. So now mom is sitting on the couch with them, and I'm reading the subtitles, and because they're making me read it because they want to know what's going on. Anyway, in pieces, we watched the whole entire 3-hour opera. And I thought, I never, ever would have imagined that they would have done that, right? That I would have done that, but that they would have done that. And it was because we did it we fell in love with it. You know, we started very simply with something that was accessible, and then we had more time with it, and it became familiar, and we liked it. Anyway, so it was very interesting that this came about. So it kind of helped me be more open to possibilities. Does that make sense? You know, to see that, wow, I need to stop limiting what we can do and what we can learn about. Anyway, so that was really fun for me. So I introduced that to Lindsay's daughter. And so this week she'll be having some experiences with classical music. And like I said, I also assigned Amy's group to her to listen to Aspen Winds, listen to their Peter and the Wolf, and become familiar with that. So anyway, don't be afraid of these things just because you don't know it. You can learn with your kids, you know, as you're exposing them to any of these new things, whether it's music or art or literature or poetry or getting out in nature. You don't have to know the names of everything to get out there with your kids and have experiences in nature. And I'm really glad that Ida's here because I wanted you to share, Ida. Oh, wait, are you still not, did you figure out sound? No. Shoot. Okay, because Ida said something wonderful this week about nature, about getting out in nature yourself and how that makes a difference. So don't feel any pressure. Don't worry. I shouldn't do that to you anyway, but I do. Still nothing. No. Okay. Well, oh yeah. Okay. That's true. We could do that. Well, maybe you can do it, Lindsay or Ida. Because I love what she said. So it was just a little text that we have. We have this kind of small little group of us that talk because we were kind of, you know, we've been together for a really long time in this group. And so we'll chat occasionally if we come up with some thought or, you know, some new resource or something. So hold on, let me look at the chat. Oh, this is so fun. Okay. Okay, so for those of you who don't have access to the chat, if you watch this later and you want it, let me know because I save it every time. And so I can send that. I was sending it in the emails, but I don't know if anybody looks at that or anything. I could do that again too. But there are some really good things that happen in the chat too, just good conversations. So, okay, sorry. I've kind of been hogging the conversation. What do you ladies want to talk about or share? I just got a bunch of lovely pictures from Yellowstone.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good job. Good job. All right. Can you do your nature share?
Uh,
Can you perform,
I'm
please?
not
This
sure.
is like having your, oh, can you make sound like a cow? Can you make a cow sound?
Moo.
Good job.
Let's see. So I've been like kind of digging into nature study this month and trying to like focus on that. And I've been trying to like kind of bring my kids along, but anyways, some successes and some like, oh my gosh. But overall, I've had pretty, like, it's been super cool. So one of the things I started doing was reading the nature study book, and I just have a little bookmark I stick in it. And I started last year, and I didn't get very far in this book, but I was like, I'm going to read more. So I take it along with me when I'm driving somewhere and waiting for the kids, and I read. And then I watched on the Mighty Network, they have the Simple Joy meetings, I think they're called, every Wednesday. And they had this lady, she has a website, Lillian Thistle, and she does a lot of like nature study stuff. It was super, super cool. I didn't get to see the meeting, so I just watched the recording of it. And she had lots of fun ideas for nature journaling and just getting outside and experiencing nature. And I thought that was super cool. And somebody else shared something about doing a nature scavenger hunt. And so one day I decided that that's what we're going to do. So I went to this park that's just a little ways away, and I made a list of things like find something soft, something green, and like they were supposed to try to draw each of the things, right? So I gave them a list. We were walking into the park, and the whole time, especially my teenagers were grumbling a lot. This is stupid. I don't like this park. I don't want to be here. I was like, yay, I'm just gonna keep smiling. Anyways, then we got to this spot and I was like, okay, we're gonna sit down here. And then I gave them their paper and I was like, go, we're gonna do this for 45 minutes and then come back. But and like, you know what? They didn't actually all do the assignment the way that it was intended. Some of them just did whatever they felt like, basically. But they did draw nature stuff. And by the time that we were getting ready to leave, everybody was like happier, including myself. I felt so much happier, just like, oh, I'm really enjoying this. And I was drawing whatever. And one of my teenagers, the one that was grumbling the most, was like, actually, this was kind of fun. And I'm like, so glad. So, I mean, like she really did. She had her attitude completely changed. And it was so cool to see that and to see like just the effect of being outside and just trying to pay attention. Like, and I noticed there's a huge difference between like walking, like I can walk and like put my headphones in the morning and not pay attention really to anything around me. I'm just walking and listening, right? But if I take my headphones out and I'm actually paying attention to the sounds I'm hearing and the things like looking at stuff, like I'm getting so much more out of that experience with nature, right? Like I'm really being fed. And I felt like that was happening. Like we were walking and we were in the park, but maybe, it just takes a little bit of time. But like initially, like nobody was having any fun. But when we stopped and I was like, okay, now go and see and like go explore. And then like people started seeing stuff and noticing things and like wanting to tell me and each other, look at this cool flower I found. Look at that, mom. Look at this. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about how like I listened to one of the podcasts on the nature study page, and John Muir Law was talking with this guy about Charlotte Mason and talking about how he can go out and take people out into nature and he can tell them like, look at this and look at this, and he can, be entertaining and do all these fun things. But until like we actually engage ourselves, like we are like doing the work ourselves, we are not getting the benefit of it. And as mothers, obviously we kind of help our kids, like we kind of help them see and provide these opportunities. But the most powerful thing I think that we can do is if we're doing it ourselves and they start to see that and then we're excited about it, we don't have to point out every detail, just doing it ourselves and then providing the opportunities for them. And I think that helps them to like that desire grows in them to do more themselves, to be more intentional. But that's something that I'm still trying to figure out. So if anyone has any tips on that, in increasing the desire
And you,
of, no, not in myself, but helping my children to have a greater desire just for goodness in general, but things that are beautiful and inspiring, and like helping them to see that more. It's really sometimes, I mean, I feel like they're catching on a lot, but sometimes I feel frustrated. Like it's like, I feel that's a normal mom thing though. You go back and forth. Some days you're like, this is so great. Other days you're like, I'm failing at everything.
right?
So
That is
yeah.
so normal to have that up and down. Oh my goodness. Why can't we just float up here just for a little while? Why do we have to go? Why do we have to dive so deep? Oh, thank you for sharing that. I love it. And I loved that example. I loved when you were talking about it just now, because it's so true. If we can just go and do, then things start to happen within our children. And, sometimes it's, we motivate and we inspire them, really. I mean, that really does happen. And sometimes they respond to that inspiration naturally. They just can't help it. Other times they catch themselves and they think, no, she's not going to get me. I'm not going to respond to that. So you sometimes are dealing with a little bit of that too. And so it'll go back and forth some. But I think if we stay really genuinely trying to warm our own hearts and nurture ourselves, that it comes along. They come along for the ride. And it's really quite a remarkable thing once you see the fruits of you being as consistent as a human being can be. I mean, we're human, and so we have our own bad moments, and we're not as diligent or as consistent as we intended to be, but it's okay. It's okay. Those little glimpses, those little things that we're doing here and there make a difference. It's the small and simple things. That really is true. If you can get that phrase in your head, oh, it's so helpful. It's so helpful to remember. Those small and simple things make a difference. Yeah, talk about that, Ida. What you just put in the chat. Can you talk about that a little bit? Sorry to be so bossy.
You're fine, Lori. I've been thinking about this because when my three oldest that are adopted, when they came home a year ago, they a little bit more than a year now, but anyways, they couldn't speak English. And so we focused a lot on nature study and art and music. And we did a lot of watching of movies that were like related to the topics that we're studying. And I felt like that was teaching them things and helping them with English. But anyways, that's what we focused on. I wasn't as worried about like math or science or any of those other things, right? And it's been as I am revisiting nature study this month and like reading about it and how the benefits of nature study, like that was something that Lillian Thistle, she shared a couple of studies, and Marlene has, and John Muir lots of the things on there talk about why and how it affects us, And I was pondering that, and I was thinking, I can really see that, how much just doing art and nature and like we did it a lot last year, and how much that has impacted their hearts. Really, like they've changed so much. And sometimes it's hard to see that, like if I'm just looking at from yesterday to today, but like looking back from when they first came home and how much they have more of a desire, like they complain more because they can vocalize their complaints in some ways about doing stuff. But then like we get out and do these things and they're like, oh, that's great. I love that. And we just, I don't know. So I was feeling like, especially like it talks about one of the studies that Lillian Thistle shared is just how much it improves your ability to, well, it just improves your mood being out in nature just for a short period of time. Even if you have like a patient in a hospital and you put art on the wall that's of nature, that helps them. And then like there was a study that she shared about these hikers. They went out into nature for 4 days, and they tested all these things. And then when they came back, they tested them again. And they noted that there was like a 50% improvement in their ability to solve problems and think creatively.
Wow.
And it was because of this exposure to nature stimuli that created the soft fascination state where they're like more in tune with the creative parts of their mind. Anyways, and I thought that was so interesting too, because I see that happening with my kids, like and myself too. Like when I'm out in nature and things like feel hard and I'm like, I don't know what to do, and I just go outside for a while. I don't know, I can't really give like concrete examples, but I just see how much it softened their hearts and mine. And having those experiences together has helped us connect. You know, like we're a family that goes out and enjoys nature. We're a family that likes to paint. We're a family that, you know, it's helping build that that unity and that family culture. And also just as we share those experiences together, we're connecting with each other. And it's not something you can really measure, right? But it's,
No.
I feel it, and I see it happening in little ways, like little glimpses.
I love it. And that's that, you know, difference between heart and mind. Is the mind you measure, right? And when you're just doing that heart work, that first stage, it's not something you measure, but you definitely see and feel it. I love that. There's a podcast I listened to a few years ago. I just listened to a few episodes because I thought the idea was interesting. And it's some company, and they take people that are just overly stressed and burnt out, and they take them into the wilderness for 3 days. You know, it's just for a long weekend, and they're away from everything that they know, and it's pretty rugged kind of wilderness. And some of these people are freaking out the first 24 hours because they're thinking, what did I do? What did I sign up? Oh my gosh, I've got to get me back. I can't do this, you know. By the end of the weekend, it has changed them. And they, you know, and similar to what you were just talking about, Ida, and it just talks about these realizations that they're having about themselves and life, and how they had their priorities, and, you know, and they're shifting priorities and feeling capable, feeling like they could make decisions, where when they left, they thought they were on top of everything. They thought their lives were great and amazing. They just thought they were super busy, you know, and that's normal. But anyway, it was just interesting that was just being out in nature for 3 days, and it had a very huge positive impact. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting. So yeah, sometimes as a mom, just walk outside for a minute. Oh, My Side of the Mountain. Oh, Lindsay said her kids are reading My Side of the Mountain right now. Hold on, I lost it. Can you talk? Are you able to share?
That's the point of the chat, was so we didn't have to.
Oh, stop complaining.
Don't chat if you don't want to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're reading that, and it's about a boy who wants to run away, and his dad's like, okay, see you later, and he just bails because he thinks, oh, he'll be back in like half an hour. And it's like months and months. We're not so far into the book, but apparently it's like 8 months or something like this, and he runs away to his great grandfather's plot of land. I'm not going to give it all away. Anyway, he ends up living inside of this dugout tree, and like he's like having to fish, and he's following raccoons and birds around to see what they eat, because apparently what they eat is safe for humans too. And so my kids are like, we're gonna starve, we're gonna die.
Right.
But I want to live inside of a tree. And so it just has that. It's been a lot of fun to read so far, but we haven't finished it yet.
Oh, that's so cool though, because it gets them sucked into the experience, you know, and thinking about it and imagining it. I love that. And Melanie, I love what you wrote. If pictures of nature in hospitals help patients, having pictures of nature in our homes can make a positive impact for the time when we are in our homes. And I believe that's so, so important. I love that. Okay, hold on. And Ida, be careful. They will start wanting to try to eat wild plants and go live in the wilderness. Yes, some of them will. Lindsay's got one of those. She's gone. Lindsay Bunting, her Max. Max has a YouTube channel like Max Outside or something. And anyway, so I think that would be his dream. And then you also see, I think that book was one of the books that started my boys' fascination with foraging and knowing about all the plants and animals. Yes. Also, for moms, if you want to have your own experience like that, I highly recommend The Harvester by Jean Stratton Porter. It's in the Sunshine series. And so, and I would say it fits with this month. We were working on the Mother's University, and I really want to highlight some of these books that get you just right in the middle of nature and have you fall in love with that experience of being outdoors. But The Harvester, I really liked that one, and I really liked Keeper of the Bees. So yeah, I like her books a lot. So if you've already done A Girl of the Limberlost and Freckles, then you could try, or even if you haven't, you could start with The Harvester, Keeper of the Bees. They're separate, and so you can just pop in and read them. Anyway, highly recommend. Those were good reads. And in The Harvester, he's out foraging. What he does, he grows and sells plants for medicinal purposes, and it's back 100 years ago. And he has all this land, and he continues to find plants and then replant them and have them, and he's always watching them and caring for them and then doing whatever you have to do once you harvest them to make them ready to sell. But that doesn't probably sound very interesting. That wasn't a very good, don't go by that. Go by what I said, that it was really, really good and you want to read it. But it was just kind of magical because it paints this incredible picture of nature and wilderness and living right there and being close to it and getting to know it. Anyway, it's really good. I keep thinking there's so many books I want to add, like this one. This would be so good for this month. The one that I always tell you about, Opal. It's just so sweet. It is so sweet. I've been reading this to the girls when they come over from Pinehurst Academy. I need to do it again. I just love it. I've read this to you before, but I'm going to read this part again because it's one of my favorites, and it's just so sweet, this idea of connecting with nature. So this is this little girl who was orphaned and ended up with a family that was in the logging business, and she had a lot of work to do, a lot of things she was responsible for, but she also wasn't treated wonderfully. And she, with all of her loneliness, missing her parents who died, and then just the way she was treated, she connected with nature, and that's where she found her friends and where she found solace. So she's talking, she had just gotten in trouble. So I'll tell you the part about her getting in trouble. So she said she was getting water out of the pump for the hired men. While I was taking water, my crow, and also all of the things that she meets, the animals and nature, all the different things, she names them. And she names them from the stories that her parents told her of all the great and famous and wonderful people, so artists, musicians, writers, characters in books, things like that. So her crow, Lars Porcina, who is very black, took the thimble from the mama's sewing basket. She didn't have it, meaning the mama, and she couldn't find it. She sent me to watch for it everywhere. I know how Lars Porcina has a fondness for collecting things of bright colors, like unto my fondness for collecting rocks. So I ran to his hiding place in the old oak tree. There I found the mama's thimble. I got a spanking with a hazel switch that grows by our back steps. She, meaning mama, said it was as though I'd taken it because he was my property. Inside me, I couldn't help feeling she ought to give me thanks for finding the thimble. I thought that too. Then she says, when I feel sad inside, I talk things over with my tree. And I, with my love of trees and tree houses and my dream of living in a tree house, I just love that part. So I'm wondering, do any of you have a tree? Do you have a favorite tree that you just feel connected to in some way? I love that she does. So I'll go back. When I feel sad inside, I talk things over with my tree. I call him Michael Raphael. It is a long jump from the barn roof into his arms. I might get my leg or my neck broken, and I'd have to keep still a long time. So I always say a little prayer and do jump in a careful way. It is such a comfort to nestle up to Michael Raphael. He is a grand tree. He has an understanding soul. And I just love this. And with knowing her story, it just makes it so sweet. After I talked to him and listened to his voice, I slipped down out of his arms, but I slid off the wrong limb and landed in the pig pen on top of Aphrodite, the mother pig. She gave a peculiar grunt. I felt I ought to make it up to her by taking her for a walk. I got a piece of clothesline rope. While I was making a halter for Aphrodite, I took my Sunday best hair ribbon, the blue one Uncle Henry gave me, and put the bow just over her ears. That gave her a proper look. When the mama saw us go walking by, she took the bow off the pig. She put the bow in the trunk. Me, she put under the bed. That's where she would put her if she didn't have time to spank her just then. By and by, some long time it was, she took me from under the bed and she did give me a spanking. She did not have time. Oh, I always explain things before it comes up. Sorry. She did not have time to give me a spanking when she put me under the bed. After she did it, she sent me and then she, took off on another errand and got distracted and found caterpillars instead of, what she was supposed to be doing. Probably got in trouble again, but she's just the most darling little girl. And it's the sweetest story and your kids will love it, but you will just treasure it. It's just the sweetest thing. This is one of the people, she's one of the people I want to meet and I look forward to meeting and just talking to her. I love that we have that opportunity through books to get to know people and to feel connected to them and to have our hearts warmed through these interactions. I just think that's the sweetest thing. And you can tell, I just can't help it. I want to share this with everybody. I love it. There's just so many, parts. If we had lots of time, I would just keep reading to you. There's so many things. She named a mouse Felix Mendelssohn. I just think that's so cute. Anyway, there are so many good, wonderful books out there, stories that help you to feel these connections with nature. Or with music or art or poetry, any of these good things. And I think it's so wonderful when we take advantage of opportunities to make those connections. And I do feel like heaven blesses us for every little effort we make. Heavenly Father knows how much time you have and don't have. And if you just take a little bit of that time every day to listen to a piece of music, to look at a beautiful piece of art, to get out in nature, read a little story, even if it's, just for you, put a good book by your nightstand, not a good novel, but a lovely, yes, it is Mercedes, that's the story. But a lovely book, something that's uplifting, something that's wholesome. Set that next to your bed so you can just pick it up and look at it and just get a little something out of it. I've been looking at these for months. Some of you will have these on your bookshelf or your grandma will or something, but this out of the best books. And there are 5 volumes that I know of. And it was funny because I've been thumbing through them, looking at them, getting to know them a little bit for a few months. Sorry, I'm watching the birds outside again. I told you I get distracted. But I've been just kind of looking through it and I had no idea. I just had no idea what they were. I didn't understand what a treasure was sitting there on my bookshelf. People have said you can find these at secondhand stores, definitely DI stores if those are around you. You can get them online, thrift books, places, Abe Books, those kind of places. And because people don't know what they are, or they think that they don't want them, but they are, they were created for the Relief Society, but they're this one, they're an anthology of literature is what they officially call them. But it was a study program for the women. They said it probably isn't the best thing what we're doing. I mean, it's good. What they were doing was having a teacher stand up and teach the women about, some wonderful book or work of art or something like that. And they said that's good, but it would be better if each woman had a chance to read for herself, or study or examine for herself parts of a book or a poem or something, and then could come together and they could talk about it, discuss it, and share what they got out of it, what they thought about it, and then glean from each other, from the other people sharing. Anyway, I just thought, wow, that's incredible, that's amazing, and that's right here. Anyway, and so the books just go through all these wonderful works, great literature and poetry and stories, and talk about them. Yes, yeah. So the doing and experiencing for ourselves is key. And Ida, the other thing that Ida brought up and that I thought with this as well was if we're just if we're just kind of familiar on the surface with things, that's one thing, and that gives us some knowledge and some appreciation of things. But to dig down a little bit deeper, to spend a little bit more time, to invest a little bit of yourself, you start to make real connections. I'd tie that in with our relationship with the Savior, and how it and studying scriptures. And I'm adding stuff to it also, because I just kind of kept thinking about that, and how if we really want to have a relationship with him, we need to have our own experiences with him, or our own experiences in the scriptures, or whatever it is you want to liken it to. But you have to commit something. You have to invest something, a little bit of yourself in it. Anyway, so I loved this. So I want to just share this as another thing. If you run across these, grab them and consider having that be something, for whatever time in your life is right for you. For me, it's now, but that is a treasure. Sorry, there's just so many things. I told you I have so many things on my mind, but I want you to share if you have thoughts or things you want to share and talk about. I want you to do that. And if you don't, I'm just going to take up all your time. Also, Lindsay and I are going to get better, and we're going to start posting pictures and a little bit more about what we're doing at Pinehurst Academy, because it is wonderful. And it's been incredible. We continue to not have a plan. And the inspiration we receive is just prepare yourselves. Just prepare yourselves. Just read and listen and watch and see and just be open. It's kind of that idea of having a reservoir, of something, and something good, and then showing up. And that's what we've done. And it's been so incredible. It's just been directed, and we've done wonderful things. So again, this last week, we Lindsay came with a poem. Not a poem, a play. And she had just looked up this play and sent it to me. I printed it out, and the girls were digging in the dress-up box, pulling things out. I had added some more things to the dress-up box. Lindsay brought some more things. And the girls, she told them what the different characters were. And so they decided who was going to be whom and what costumes would be appropriate for those things. And they got all dressed up, and this is 14 to 17-year-old girls. And yeah, and we were saying, just go for it, because they're safe with each other now. They've known, some of them knew each other, but they're, the ones that didn't are getting to know each other. We went on that field trip. They got to run and play and have shared experiences. And so they were dressing up. And then they started the play. So this is the second play they've done, and they're just reading from paper. It's not like they memorize parts or anything. They're just doing it like in Little Women, or I don't know if any of you read the Saturday series, the Melendi series, the Melendi family. Those are so good. Elizabeth Enright, really good, fun books for you and your kids to read. Anyway, those are really fun too, and the kids do plays and have little musicals and things that just during their playtime together, it's just all the siblings together. They've learned to get along. They've learned to play. It's kind of like that perfect thing that can happen with the family if you guys are bored enough and mom and dad don't step in, and you just have to figure out how to do it. And magical things happen. Anyway, so the girls are doing this play, and they're having a blast. They loved it. And then we did tea time, poetry tea time. And I got sugar cubes even this time. And so they loved that, putting the lumps of sugar in their tea. And they were sharing different poems. And then I sent them outside. I have these books called One Square Yard, nature books. And they're all different places, like swamps, pond, ocean, your backyard, the night sky, whatever. And I let them thumb through those just to get an idea of what you could find in one square yard if you were actually really looking. And so then I sent them out in my yard to find their own square yard, and just kind of look and see. And then one of them, who knows my yard really well, had slipped down through the playhouse, through the trap door, and around the back. There's a rope ladder that takes you down, and then you go around the back. And the other girls were like, where'd you come from? How'd you do that? And so then, it's like, ooh, I said, go explore, just run and play, have fun. And so they did. So they're just scrambling up the rope ladder and up into the playhouse, and oh my gosh, this is a cottage. Oh, this should be Pinehurst Cottage. oh, wow. Oh, we could decorate it. We could get in here. We could fix it up. Lori, can we fix up the cottage? The cottage, they've already named it. It's a tiki hut. What are they talking about? But it's a cottage, and it's Pinehurst Cottage. And they're like, oh, we need to make a Pinterest board. And can we make a Pinterest board? I said, yeah, if you put me on it, And so now they have a Pinterest board with their ideas for the inside and the outside, anyway. Color schemes, like everything. And it's so tiny, and the ideas they have are these big, ideas, but I love it. I love that they just got excited about something. And I think, oh my goodness, we push our kids, society pushes our kids, even if we're not, to grow up so fast. And they don't need to. They don't want to. And as I've shared some of what they're doing with the grandmas, and Marley, she said, oh, I want to do that. She said, what woman, what female doesn't want to go run and play, doesn't want to play dress up, doesn't want to have a tea party and sit around with her friends talking? And she just said, this is so magical and so wonderful. And you guys need to document everything and share, because this needs to happen all over the country. And moms can do this, or grandmas can do this. I mean, this is me, a grandma, doing it with my friend who's a mom, and her daughter's part of it, right? And then we have other girls that have joined us. And it's simple. It's 3 hours a week, and it just happens so beautifully. Yeah, Ida.
Am I? Sorry. I don't even remember what I was going to say now. And I forgot that I was
I'm sorry.
unmuted.
It's okay. It's your turn anyway. So I hope you can think of something. Now you can be me.
You're hilarious. I was thinking about, so that whole idea, like preparing, right? And I like, we're in this schedule. I'm spending a lot of time like sitting and waiting for the kids, and they're doing different activities or whatever. And so I sit and I'm just waiting. So I take my books and my little notebook along, and I've been reading and trying to process things, because I think it takes me, I love the idea that Marlene's like, don't rush, right? Like, don't rush through things. You don't have to hurry. Just take a little bit at a time and try to digest it. And I found that to be really applicable, in lots of areas, but in the scriptures, especially in the Old Testament, going slow. And the other day I was so tired. It was yesterday. I was so tired, and I had read this chapter with my kids in the morning from Jeremiah. And then I was reading this Teaching in the Savior's Way, this booklet that was given to me from the Sunday school president. And one of the things it talked about is looking for symbols of Christ, or things that point to Christ, right? And I'm sitting in this chair, and I was thinking about that, and I was like, okay, trying to think, where did I see symbols of Christ as I'm falling asleep, because I was so tired. And it was so cool, because it was the Spirit was like, Ida, remember that part where you read about intercession? And I was like, oh yeah, okay, I have to highlight that before I forget it. It's Heavenly Father's I know you're tired, but let me just give you this little tidbit to sleep on. And you can start to see, so I was talking to my kids about that this morning, all things denote there is a God, right? All things testify of Christ. So I'm as we go out in nature, let's think about that. What are some things that help us to think about the Savior, or what this thing that I'm looking at, what does this make me feel, or anything, any connection to Jesus Christ? And it was interesting. I didn't get a chance to follow up with my kids on that yet, but just me thinking about it myself, and trying to think about that was while we were outside doing nature study this morning. And that as you do that, one of the things that I promise is that as you try to do that, you'll see it more and more and more. And I was I'm going to experiment with that, as I do different things, studying art or nature or stories. How can I, that it's inspiring? You should be able to see something. Something that Marlene shared too, that thing about in church meetings, they would read fairy tales because they had gospel principles. And I was like, that's cool. Maybe I'll read a fairy tale in Sunday school. Maybe not. We'll see. But anyways, all things denote there is a God.
Yes.
That's my mantra.
I love that. I love that. And it is so true. And I did the ugly duckling when I taught Relief Society, when I subbed for Relief Society. So go for it, Ida. Stories pull people in. Stories help you to make those connections. Parables were taught by the Savior, right? So those are stories. So I think that's beautiful. I love what you shared. And I love that idea of going out looking for those things and we find them. Oh, yes. You should have shared the Runaway Bunny. I love it. And I shared in the chat that there's a movie on YouTube of Jeremiah, and it was recommended on something I saw, and so we watched it. Well, I was home for the family home meeting where we started it, and then I was picking Sarah up from the airport with her friends who just got back from Europe, and I didn't get to see the second half, but my husband said, you guys have got to watch it. It was really good, definitely worth the watch. So, and it's Patrick Dempsey, so there's that whole other thing. Makes it at least enjoyable. But anyway, it was nice how they started it. I thought, wow, that's impressive. And it said it's not completely true to scripture, but it's very, very, very good, very close, and a lot of things that help you to understand what the time period was like and stuff. So anyway, there's just another little resource there. So many things. Okay, also recommendation, I think I shared last week, maybe I shared, I can't remember, Daughters in My Kingdom. If you have that on your shelf and you just kind of have, they gave it to you, maybe you read it at the time when it came out, but you put it away, get it back out and read it. It's powerful. I'm really curious to learn what it was written for, and there was some talk that, it's been such a blessing for people in other countries to be able to understand what they're part of, and that this incredible, organization of women. But I got distracted. I'm so excited. The impact of it for everyone is so good. Just this history of a women's organization, the largest in the world and one of the very first, and the way that women have been respected and treated and held up and revered. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. But that's a really good book to get out and read. So I highly recommend that. And it's anybody, because I love to hear about the history of different organizations and people. And we read about different, like reformists and things. So this is something you could even invite a friend to read and learn about, who's maybe not a member of the church that most of us are members of, but the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But for anybody else, because it's a beautiful history, and then all the stories of things that happened through the world wars, and how the women had been counseled years before to learn how to store grain and start doing it. And so they had all the different wards and areas where they were storing grain. And during the I think World War I, the church ended up selling a huge supply of their grain to the United States to feed people. And it was an incredible resource. And anyway, so that was kind of cool too. I want to read what Melissa said first. Oh gosh, we're 11. Adults love things that remind them of childhood. I once taught a Sunday school class and gave everyone one of those shiny star stickers. Yes, that teachers would use. I heard people talking about how happy it made them for hours afterward. I did not expect that. I love that. I love that. And I love to do things like that. I love to remind us that we enjoy the things that we enjoyed when we were little. Why would we have stopped? What's so great about growing up? I don't think it's that great personally. It's one of the reasons I love to interact with children. It's just so fun. They are real and it just feels good, and they can be excited and bubbly about things, and they don't feel like they have to apologize for it, or they don't hold it in because they're afraid of what their friends might think, that it wasn't grown up enough or something. Anyway, I just read a weird story, but it's called The Celestial Omnibus, and it's just a short story by E.M. Forster. It was in this. And And the little boy in the story got to take the celestial omnibus to heaven. And because he was open to all these things, he was meeting all these different people from, it was kind of literary heaven. So all these people from literature. And he was just thrilled and excited and loved it all. And he comes back and tells his mom and dad, and they make fun of him and punish him and, you know, all these things because they just didn't have the eyes and the heart to see. And I loved that part of the lesson of that story. And it just kind of made me think about, wow, we really can choose whether we decide to be boring grown-ups or whether we decide to just keep wonder alive and find the joy. And I think we have lots and lots of opportunities to find the joy. And yeah, so we can take advantage of that if we choose to. And I love that we are choosing to, and then sharing it with each other makes a big difference. It just, I don't know, it feeds us and makes us, kind of helps us want to keep going and want to do more. Anyway, so this has been lovely. And I am going to do a Zoom. I'll figure that out. We'll do a Zoom where Lindsay and I can talk to you about the experience we had, because it was pretty awesome. A week ago, no, just last Thursday. Last Thursday, we had a little meeting planned where we were talking about Daughters in My Kingdom, a little book review. And Marley had made arrangements to have her sister, who is Sharon Eubank, come to that discussion. And we were very excited about that. Sharon Eubank had been on the board when they were creating this book, when they were doing that history. And then Marley heard back from her sister, Sharon. Sharon had said, you know, I'm going to invite Julie. I think we could get Julie back to come. And so we showed up Thursday night at that Zoom meeting. There were just 11 or 12 of us, and Sharon Eubank and Julie Beck were on that Zoom call. And we got to talk for 40 minutes. Well, Sister Beck shared with us the whole story of that book coming to be. And it was incredible. And we got to ask questions and interact with her. And it was wonderful. I admire and respect her so much. I have learned so much from her. And so it was a wonderful experience. Anyway, so we'll do that. We'll share. We'll do a share. I'll send that out to everybody so you know when that's going to happen. So if you want to, you know, you can come and see it. And I'll, you know, maybe I'll put in I don't think I would put out on YouTube, but I could share with you the recording if you aren't able to come. And, you know, but I want Lindsay to be able to be part of that sharing, because it was a pretty cool experience anyway. And they did not record it on purpose, I think. Yeah, because I kind of was hoping, but no, they did not record it. So, but I think between Lindsay and I, we can at least give you a good summary of it. But anyway, it was lovely. It was just a good experience. Okay, so if we have anyone that wants to do a takeaway, or Linnell, if you want to do a summary, I don't know if you're somewhere where that's an option for you, but anybody that wants to just kind of a little takeaway from today's discussion, that would be lovely. And then we'll go.
I don't have a summary, but I wanted to share about I watched the same watercolor class, the Lily and Thistle one, and it really helped me. I showed you this last week, and I think I told you about this last time. But I wanted to show you one of these things that I did with my sister. It was her last day before she went back to Provo. She's been living with us for about 8 months. But we went on a walk in this beautiful place, and we sat down and we watercolored this barn near, it had cows in front of it, and it was just so fun to make this. I just made it. I didn't care about what it looked like or anything. But the experience of doing it was so beautiful. I just felt it in my heart. It just was like one of those heart experiences that it was so beautiful. And my kids all did it. It was awesome. It was one of those picture perfect moments of enjoying nature with my children and my sister. So that's what I wanted to share.
Oh, I love that you shared that. I love it. And I love that it was something that you did with somebody close to you, and that your kids got to experience it too. But just hearing you talk about it, we can get a sense of that, what you were feeling through that experience. So that was super, super cool. Hi, York. Also York, just if you can hear me, I am going to send you a Marco Polo today of the Playhouse, because I forgot to do that. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so thanks, Cadence, for sharing that. I loved that. And Linnell, if you do have a minute and you want to come back, that would be lovely.
I wanted to share a quote that I read today. Don't look for new landscapes, look for new eyes to see. Let's see, did I get that? Don't look for new landscapes, use new eyes to see what is already there. I've been pondering that a lot. Don't look for new landscapes, what is that again?
Use new eyes to see
Use
what?
new eyes to see what is already there. And it made me think of an experience I had when I was home on Kauai. We have salt beds, and it's the ancient Hawaiian way of gathering salt from the ocean. And I grew up there and I never ever went. I didn't have the eyes to see it or appreciate it. And this past time, we had the opportunity to go with my children, my husband and my 4 children. We went and it was amazing. So I've been gifted new eyes from this philosophy of well-educated heart and warming my heart and having a desire to learn about this. And so as Ida was sharing her experience with her children and nature study, I was thinking about how sometimes things just take a long time to get what we want. And we need to extend our eyes and our vision far enough out that we're willing to wait for the process. Similar to what Marlene talks about, the cedar of Lebanon and the roots and how they grow, and it takes time. And this salt process takes time too. You can't just get some water from the ocean and expect salt. It takes weeks and weeks and repetition and this long process. And we need to be patient for it. And if not, we can't see the results. So in our moment of trying to warm our children's hearts or our own, there will be frustrations, there will be maybe our eyes will get blurry and we need to clear them off. But if we're just patient and hold on to that vision, I think eventually we'll get that salt that we're looking for or whatever it is that we want. So just keep on keeping on. And I want to share with you who I'm meeting up with. Hi, Rachel. Hi. Oh, how are you? Oh my gosh, this is
Oh,
friends.
hi,
This is
Rachel.
Rachel this is my Mothers of Influence group.
Oh,
Yes.
I love all of you. Hi, Lori.
Hello, it's so good to see you.
I can't hear what that's about.
Oh, yeah, let me take it off. She can't hear you. Hang on, let me take off my...
Vibing on the bus on the way to the temple.
We can see and hear you.
There we go.
Okay, now I can hear them. Oh, this is so exciting.
Oh, Rachel, it's good to see you. I'm so happy you guys are meeting up. What a fun thing.
Do some nature study now.
Wonderful. Oh,
Yeah,
you
this
two
is so
will
exciting.
enjoy yourselves together so much. You're two of my favorite people.
Okay.
Fun. Oh. We didn't hear what you just last said. Okay. Oh, so fun. That's so nice. Rachel is one of the Mothers of Influence Council. So she's one of the grandmas, and she's also on the Mothers of Influence Council. And she's just a beautiful person. She is so positive and so encouraging, and she just finds beauty and joy in everything. So what a fun thing that they're meeting up. I love that. Love it. Okay, so I loved her retelling. I love that. I love the idea of having eyes to see. This has been a theme for me lately, is having, that wide perspective and looking through the right lenses. We pick up the wrong glasses on a regular basis. And once we finally decide, okay, wait, I'm not having good experiences with these. I'm going to stop looking at life through these, and I'm going to put on, maybe rose-colored glasses. I don't know, whatever it is, but you're going to put on heart-warmed, something that got that kind of a lens and perspective. And wow, what a difference it makes. You see things that you've seen before, just like Linnell and then like Lindsay Watkins shared in the comments. And I won't make her talk because she obviously put it in the chat for a reason. But he said it's the same thing with going to the petrified forest in Arizona last year. She said it's 45 minutes from the house I grew up in. So I'm guessing you're meaning you didn't go before.
No, I'll talk. I just didn't want to interrupt her. So
Yeah.
no, yeah, it's 45 minutes from where I grew up. And it's funny because like my brother and my sister's like, we went there on a field trip. I ditched a lot of field trips. They weren't my thing. And but we did a geology study, you know, last November with my kids, and we were just digging in. And when we went out for Thanksgiving, I told my mom, I'm like, let's go to the petrified forest. And my older brother, he lives with her now that my dad's gone. And he's like, oh, what a boring place. And I'm like, well, then you can stay home and we're going to go. And so we ditched him and we went and we had the best time because my kids were like, look at this one and look at that one. And they were really into it because we had been spending time seeing the rocks and seeing. And so to experience that, I don't think I would have appreciated it. I might have had that same, oh, it's just boring. But because we had opened our eyes and put on the right glasses, we were seeing it. We spent like an hour and a half out there. And it's not very big, but it was just so interesting because, again, we didn't have like Ida said, we didn't have that myopic vision going on. We weren't just narrowing in. We were opening it up to see what was out there. And so it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love that. And I would love it if, I just love that because that's such a contrast, right? And you experienced it and we can imagine that. And we might be able to think of ideas in our own lives. Cadence, if you're able to share about the spider, can you share again about this, was it the spider in your window, in your kitchen window?
No, that's, who was that? That
Who was
wasn't
talking
me.
about the spider in their window? Why did I think that was you? Do you guys remember the spider, the orb, and the web and taking down the spider for the rain? No, everybody's no.
Was that Mercedes?
Maybe it was Mercedes. I think it might have been Mercedes. I think you're right. Sorry. I was thinking about being in somebody's kitchen with them as they were talking, and you're usually in your kitchen. And so that's why that was coming up for me. It's a very strong kitchen vibe. So I think it was Mercedes now that I'm thinking about it. But she was talking about how she's not liked spiders and her kids don't like spiders. But she had this spider that had built a web just outside of her kitchen window and she could see it. So they kind of decided to learn a little bit about it. And they learned the kind of spider it was. And then they started watching more and paying attention to the web. And then a storm was coming and the spider was taking down her web. And she thought, well, that's curious. I wonder why. And kind of asked her kids about it. And they decided to explore a little bit and learned that often spiders will take down their web when a storm is approaching. And then they'll create a new one after the storm. And sure enough, that's what the spider did, took down the web. And then she made a new one. And so she said, now we're interested in spiders, and it's a much more positive thing. Oh, I know why I tied it to you, Cadence, because then I shared with you guys all about oh, what's the spider's name? York, can you remind me what the spider's name is? Lucas the spider on YouTube. If you haven't met Lucas the spider yet, you've got to go, right, York? Lucas the spider is awesome. Oh, hey, it's Bo and York. There we go. Now I got them both. Sorry about that. Hi, Bo. I'm expecting you to not be there. Oh, of course. If it's Bo, if Bo's here, we get the awesome creations, right? All these inventions. And York, I got to see some of York's drawings and paintings from his.
This was actually from a kit.
No, but that's what you were showing earlier, a solar robot.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. So have you put it outside yet?
No.
Okay, so we're just.
Yes, but it does have a battery, so I can make it battery powered.
Okay.
And I made a little car with it.
That is super cool.
Instructions.
Oh, nice. Are you good about following instructions?
Yes, but some of them are hard to do.
That's how instructions
Like
usually
one
are.
was so hard that I had to have Dad help me.
Well, that's what dads are for.
Yeah. But what's good about it, it comes with these really sharp clippy pliers because there's this plastic frame and you have to cut all the parts off.
Oh, yeah.
But
Kind of like a model car. You know what? I
Yeah,
think
but
that's very cool.
yeah, it's pretty useful.
Yeah.
And it makes like dog bot, surf bot, crab bot, beetle bot, Autobot, zombie bot, slider bot. And I don't know what that says. Boat bot,
Wow.
turtle bot, walker bot, and wheel bot.
That is so cool. So many
14 in
variations.
one kit.
Okay, just one more thing and then we're done. Here.
I created something too. So the sound effect, if you turn on that, it makes me
Wow. You completed all the circuits to make it sing happy
I
birthday?
made both on close the do not do things, and I built both.
Wow, good job, you guys. Thanks for sharing. I love it. I love it. Hey, I was just thinking that I need to next year plan in advance because I need a better Halloween costume. So maybe I should have you guys help me. I want a Transformers costume. I think those are so cool. Have you guys watched those on YouTube? When you see the Transformer costume, so you got a robot walking around and then they transform down into, like it's Bumblebee, or I can't remember the name of the red, white, and blue one, but anyway, and they transform back into their whatever vehicle and then back into the robot. It is the coolest thing. I
Oh
wanna be a
no,
Transformer.
that's semi truck.
Oh, a semi truck. Is that Bumblebee?
Bumblebee is the yellow one.
I know. So what's the red, white, and blue one? The red, white, and blue one goes to a semi truck?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, anyway, I just think that'd be super cool. I love to dress up Halloween. I don't love Halloween, but I love to dress up. Anyway, I think we should share Halloween costume pictures somewhere. I think we need to do that. Oh, sorry, York. Anyway, okay. Well, I think this has been super fun. I hope you don't mind that I get distracted and like to talk to the kids. Anyway, but it's super fun. I love talking about nature. I love what it can gift to us. I just think that's so amazing. And I think, wow, Heavenly Father loves us because we could have, like I've said before, we could have had one tree, one bush, to decorate the world with. It could have just been something practical. And instead he made all these incredible, beautiful things for us, or directed that. And what a gift. What an incredible gift. There's something for everybody, something you can attach yourself to and think, oh, that's my favorite. I love that, So go out and have some good nature experiences. Go out and feel all those good feelings. Put on your good glasses and have a really good week. And then we'll see you again next Friday.